Today it's the Queen Mother Champion Chase. 6 runners and riders now with 2 non-runners. They're named by Peter O'Sullivan.
1 is Artifice, written by Peter Scudamore. 2, Bearsworth Boy, Robert Earnshaw. 5, Drum Gora, Frank Berry. 8, News King, John Frankham. 9, Rath Gorman, Kevin White, Sooty White. And 12, The Mighty Mac, written by Bootsmat.
Well, Rath Gorman had an amazing season last year. He came to this meeting with 5 successive wins under his belt. Not quite so good this year, but who can forget last year?
And racing round the home turn, and it's Rath Gorman for the north with a clear advantage, and really motoring now. Rath Gorman with his white face showing with a clear advantage over the Mighty Mac. Spinning St. Drum Gora and Chinrella. Coming to the last, Sooty White looks as though he has it thrown up now for the Michael Dickinson stable if he jumps it. Rath Gorman looks as though he's only going to jump it to win the Queen Mother Chase. Rath Gorman comes to it clear, jumps it well. The Mighty Mac jumps in second and falls. The Mighty Mac is down, Chinrella was gone second, and then Spinning Saint and Drum Gora. And racing up towards the line, Rath Gorman, or Raffles as he's known as his stable, strides away to win the Queen Mother Champion Chase in tremendous style.
And a reproduction of that would be quite good enough. But as I was saying just now, he hasn't really been quite so good this season. Indeed, his first run this season, he was beaten 30 lengths by Artifice at Sandown. Artifice went on to go within a hair's breadth of a marvellous win in the Mackerson Gold Cup.
Rounding the home turn, and it's Artifice a long way clear. Artifice, who unshipped his rider back in 1979, is coming to win the Mackerson Gold Cup if he stands up at the last. Artifice is well clear of $50 more, who's second. Artifice in the lead from $50 more. Artifice lands well, $50 more jumps at second. Wayward Lair jumps at third. Tackroy 4, and racing into the closing stages, it's Artifice with $50 more in second. $50 more is putting in a tremendous run, but Artifice is still holding him. As they come to the line, it's Artifice with $50 more, putting in a tremendous run to get up and win it.
Well, beaten in the last ride there, Artifice, and he's a horse who usually runs best fresh. I wonder, Tommy, what do you think of this race?
Well, seeing that Michael Dickinson has broken the ice, I think he can follow on. Bearsworth Boy, if he gets round, I think he'll beat Rath Gorman. But Robert Earnshaw has it all to do. He's a good horse when he'll need to, but this horse can kind of pitch a bit when he lands. But if he goes clear, I think he'll beat the stable companion.
So it's Bearsworth Boy for you?
Bearsworth Boy, provided that he jumps round.
Right, well, let's hear the news of betting on our way to join Richard Pittman.
And Rath Gorman is the favourite, 6-4. Bearsworth Boy, 5-2. News King, 4-1. Artifice, 8-1. Drum Gora, 10-1. And the Mighty Mac, 20-1.
And the trophy for this race, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And trophies certainly getting more elegant than the old style cups that we were so used to seeing. That, I wonder, whose sideboard that will rest on in about quarter of an hour's time. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mother, is in the ring for this, her race, and she's a very avid race watcher. I did notice that she was on her balcony earlier on, looking at the horses when they first came into the ring, and certainly was most interested in each of the performers. Captain Miles Goslin there with Her Majesty, Chairman of the Steeplechase Company of Cheltenham. And there is Raffles, who suffered a setback last time he ran at Stratford-on-Avon, and in fact on that occasion he was second to his own stable companion Bearsworth Boy. He has had various little setbacks in his career, this horse, but by golly, what a good servant he has been to Jim Lilly, Northern Ireland based owner. He's won no end of races, in fact 25 races over jumps, 13 different courses he's been successful on. However, this isn't the first time he's been on Cheltenham Racecourse today, because earlier this morning he was out having just a gentle canter in the middle of the course, and doesn't that present a lovely picture? Sooty White, his jockey today, on his back this morning, and just having a gentle hack around just to loosen him up. But I must stress, he was the only one of the Dickinson horses so far to be seen out in the middle of the course in the morning. There is Raffles, and a very big white blaze on his head. I wonder if we'll see that coming lunging around the last bend in front. He has been such a good money spinner to his owner, and his owner very, very emotional. He also owns Gay Spartan. He's been over to see him win twice already this season, so his trips to England very fruitful so far. There is Badsworth Boy, the other Dickinson runner, who in fact beat Raffles last time out at Stratford. On that occasion, he was getting £10 from his stable companion. Robert Earnshaw in the saddle today. On that occasion, Dermot Brown rode him, the amateur. Robert, who is virtually stable jockey there now, taking the ride. Badsworth Boy, a big, scopy chestnut, not always the best jumper of fences. When he started off, he used to belt 1 or 2. In fact, at Stratford, he was very bold and very fast. But these Cheltenham fences slightly stiffer than the Stratford ones, but I think that now he's put it together, he certainly has every chance. News King, Fred Winter's runner, and sad to say that Fred Winter not here today. He's at home with just a touch of flu, but we hope that a win from this one perks him up, because News King is a very decent horse. The only thing against him is the fact that he does like fast ground. He struggled home at Newbury last season on heavy ground, and Connection said he'd never run on it again, but he did win on that occasion. Today it's a little bit tacky. It was virtually good ground yesterday, but a bit of rain overnight has made it tacky. News King is 9-2 third favourite from 4-1. John Frankham in the saddle. Artifice, number 1. He's a 12-year-old by Master Owen out of Lady Artist II, who was by Artist's son. And this horse, well, what a tribute to his trainer. And really, he is the idol of his girl leading it up there. That's Jackie Thorne, daughter of the trainer. You wouldn't want to say a bad word about this one. But he has had everything wrong with him in his time, from heart to leg troubles, and a great credit to John Thorne that he's produced him now as a 12-year-old, probably better than ever. But his trainer is slightly afraid that he might just be short of a race. He wanted to get a race into him recently, but was unable to. So as Artifice leads them out for the parade for the Queen Mother Champion Chase, let's see how they bet.
Rathgorman now is 7-4. A Badsworth Boy 9-4. News King 9-2. Artifice 9-1. Drumgore 12s and the Mighty Mac 20-1.
And Artifice again leading the parade. What an exciting horse this is, and how unlucky in the Mackerson Gold Cup. But that was run over 2.5 miles. I remember talking to his joint owners slightly just before that race, and they were at variance as to what the horse's best trip was. I must admit I thought this horse would get 2.5 and further, but in fact he is best at 2 miles. Number 2, Badsworth Boy. Well, when he fell at Liverpool, it was such a burying you never thought he'd ever get up again. But happily he did. He's here, and he's very fit. Number 5, Drumgore, previous winner of this race. He won it in 1981, but very disappointing last year. Good-looking horse, fine condition, but hasn't quite shown his best form of late. News King, relaxed, very good hurdler. Previously trained by Neville Callahan, but he's certainly been with Fred Winter for 3 seasons now and has done exceptionally well. Good hurdler, good chaser. There is Raffles pulling hard even at the walk. A workman, you can see head down, really pulling on. This was one of the many ones produced by Jeremy Maxwell in Northern Ireland for Dickinson's and other English stables. Badsworth Boy 2-1 second favourite from 9-4, hardening 1/4 of a point. And there, the Mighty Mac in the colours of Jane Lane. He was second at the last fence last year when falling. It was quite an amazing fall, really, because he went astride and then buckled over. It didn't really look as if he'd hit the fence at all. Hard-pulling horse. He's got a tight noseband on him there to help Boots Madden wagon him a little bit. Big, strapping horse, trained originally in Ireland by Tom Costello, and there he produced him to be one of the finest young chasers, both over 2 and 3 miles, but he's now considered to be best at 2 miles. I must say he's been slightly disappointing on his forays to England, even when trained in Ireland, and since joining John Edwards at Leominster, well, he hasn't won a race, but he's run some very good races indeed. He was just a length second to Prominent Artist, Dickinson-trained horse, at Wolverhampton in December. Fine big horse, and Jane Lane, a very enthusiastic owner. I'd certainly like to see her in the winner's enclosure. So the runners at the top of the course, the very height of the hill here, turning to canter down to the 2-mile start. This should be a good gallop. They'll ensure that it is. Badsworth Boy can easily go on if he has to. And in fact, Artifice probably be well up with them. I should think this will be a rattling good pace. Just look at the crowds in the grandstand there. Absolutely packed in there. Bookmakers quite happy last evening. I met several on the way out, and their bags, their satchels were certainly far from empty. Drumgora just going down, 11-year-old now by Daybrook Lad out of a Limekiln mare. As I say, was successful here in 81 in this race, but was rather disappointing last year. Came to England on 2 occasions, but what a strapping-looking horse this is. Trained by Arthur Moore in Ireland. Arthur, whose horses were wrong for a couple of months earlier on in the year, just at the turn of the year, but they've certainly come back with a bang now, and Arthur, a very capable trainer indeed. His only success last season was in the Goffs handicap chase at Navan, and he was third behind the easy winner Rath Gorman in the 82 Champion Chase, but beaten a long way. But doesn't he look well? Look how hard he's pulling as he takes Frank Berry down to the start there. Almost getting away with his jockey, isn't he? Starts down the bottom of the hill, and that picture in fact doesn't tell you quite how steep the hill is, and I can assure you at the end of a race, when you've been up it once, it's twice as steep. As the runners come down to meet us, we have a show betting for you, followed.
Rathgorman 15-8, Badsworth Boy 2-1, News King 5-1, Artifice 9-1, Drumgora 12s, and the Mighty Mac 20-1.
Raffles there, number 9. 4 white socks. There used to be a rhyme that all horsemen sang to themselves when they went to look at horses. If they had 4 white socks, it ended up, don't buy them. Well, if those who'd passed this one over would be feeling very sick now, wouldn't they? A very good horse indeed. I hear from Michael Dickinson that although this horse wasn't wrong at Stratford, they think that he's better today. Raffles in those colours, carried so successfully now by Gay Spartan, who runs tomorrow. But there is the other Dickinson horse, Badsworth Boy. 4 runs so far this season and 4 wins. A very exciting, fast horse. Now that he's started to put his jumping together, I think that he's a very live contender indeed. This is a good race and certainly worthy of the prize. Badsworth Boy, very short backed behind the saddle. You'll see from the back of the saddle to the top of his rump is a very short distance indeed, because the front of him is very long, big long neck and a good deep front. And he didn't used to round at all at his fences, but he's just put that together. He, I suppose, is a brave jumper. He likes to stand off at his fences, and you can't always get away with it. The farther off you stand, sooner or later, you're not going to get there. But if he jumps like he did at Stratford for Dermot Brown, then he should go very close. Robert Earnshaw got a big task ahead tomorrow, a lot on his plate as the defending champion in the Gold Cup. Badsworth Boy there in the picture. Let's see how they bet.
Rathgorman's back to 7-4, Badsworth Boy 2-1, News King 9-2, Artifice 9-1, Drumgora 11-1, and the Mighty Mac still on 20-1.
And opinion of him was just expressing that he thought the ground might have gone slightly against him, but it's not all that bad, if a little tacky. Interesting to see there that John's just fished his goggles out from inside his racing silks, obviously keeping them warm so that they don't mist up, because goggles aren't a lot of good if you can't see where you're going when you go to the first fence. They're coming in. Let's join Peter.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, Captain Dick Smalley calls them in, and they're away. And Drumgora and News King dispute the lead as they come to the first of the 12 fences. Drumgora, in fact, the former winner, going clear at the first, jumps it a little bit left-handed. News King jumps it second, then Artifice and Badsworth Boy and Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac, and they're going a real good clip coming down to the second. Drumgora well clear of News King, Artifice, Badsworth Boy and Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Quite a long run to the third. Drumgora from News King, Artifice, Badsworth Boy, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Drumgora and Frank Berry setting a real good gallop from News King, Artifice and Badsworth Boy. Jumps it very big and bold, the leader. They're racing uphill now to the fourth. Drumgora clear of Artifice, now gone second. The News King on the inside of Badsworth Boy, and the Mighty Mac and Rathgorman matching strides. The fourth, Drumgora. Just pitches a little on landing there. Doesn't lose any impetus. Drumgora goes on still from Artifice, Badsworth Boy on the outside of News King, then Rathgorman, last year's winner, and the Mighty Mac. Number 5. Drumgora, Artifice, Badsworth Boy, News King. News King just pecked a little bit there. Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac, and this is the water. Number 6. Drumgora from Badsworth Boy, News King and Artifice. Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. And now the first of the 2 ditches, or the regulation as they call it in Ireland. Badsworth Boy going up on the outside of Drumgora, a little between the 2 there. And then Artifice, News King, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Another plain one before the final ditch, number 8. Badsworth Boy lands in the lead from Drumgora, Artifice, News King, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. And News King getting a reminder there from John Frankham. They come to the final ditch. Badsworth Boy jumps it clear. Rathgorman, a good jump on the outside of News King and Artifice. Drumgora's lost his place altogether. The Mighty Mac is tailed off and looks as though he may be pulled up. And now they've got 3 fences left to jump in the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And it's Badsworth Boy clear of News King and Rathgorman, then Artifice and Drumgora. And the race now with a Michael Dickinson 1-2 look about it as Badsworth Boy comes to the 3rd last from Rathgorman and News King. Badsworth Boy jumps it clear of News King and Rathgorman. Coming to the 2nd last now. And Robert Earnshaw looks over his right shoulder, sees very little danger barring an accident. Badsworth Boy. Oh, he's made a bad mistake there. He got away with it. News King jumped in 2nd. He made a bad mistake too. Rathgorman takes the initiative from News King. Artifice is 4th and 5th is Drumgora. But Badsworth Boy coming to the final fence now in the Queen Mother Champion Chase and looking as though he only has to jump it to win it. In 2nd is Rathgorman, then News King and Artifice coming to the final fence now. Badsworth Boy, ears pricked, measures it carefully, gets away from it well. A cheer from the crowd. It's going to be very close for 2nd indeed. Rathgorman jumps in 2nd, but Artifice finishing well on the near side. News King on the far side. Rathgorman loses his place as Badsworth Boy strides up to the line to win the Queen Mother Champion Chase in great style. Artifice, one of the old men of the party, in fact the old man, a 12-year-old, runs on gallantly to be 2nd. Artifice is 2nd and News King is 3rd. And Drumgora gets up to relegate Rathgorman, last year's winner, to 5th. With the Mighty Mac finishing a long way behind the remainder. And so the official result: first, number 2, Badsworth Boy, owned by Mr. D.H. Armitage, trained by Michael Dickinson and ridden by Robert Earnshaw. 2nd was number 1, Artifice, owned by Mr. Paul K. Barber and Mr. John Thorne, trained by John Thorne and ridden by Peter Scudamore. And 3rd was number 8, News King, owned by Mr. Terry Foreman and Mr. W.S.H. Bushiel, trained by Fred Winter and ridden by John Frankham. 4th was number 5, Drumgora. This is the winner. Here's how he won it as we review it with Richard Pittman.
And as they came to the 2nd last, this was the only moment of doubt for Badsworth Boy regarding his jumping. He's pricking his ears, cocking his head and looking almost at the people. He gets low. Robert Earnshaw gives him a reef on the reins, gathers him quickly, and behind him you can see John Frankham and News King also making a mistake, but John doesn't get shifted from a mistake like that. And on his outside, Rathgorman, who had been in trouble from the top of the hill and was never looking as if he was going to get back at his stable companion. He's definitely not his true form. Coming round the last bend, Robert Earnshaw has had a look. He knows there is no danger except that last fence. Having just made a mistake, he wasn't going to ask this horse for a great big leap at the last. But look, that must be 20 lengths between them. Just one fence now. What's he going to do, Badsworth? He shortens nicely and jumped as he had throughout the race, except for the 2nd last. Robert Earnshaw secure now in the fact that he's no more fences, going to the last, 3 of them in line for 2nd. Rathgorman weakening, in fact even Drumgora goes on to pass him, so obviously he's not right. But Artifice running on nicely at the end of a race, all very tired. They'd gone a fair gallop throughout the race, and that ensured that when they finished they were all going rather backwards at the end. So a good winner there, Badsworth Boy, the 2nd of the day for Michael Dickinson.
Badsworth Boy, the 2-1 2nd favourite, having maintained his fine sequence this season, unbeaten now in 5 runs. So number 2 for Michael Dickinson. And to the Ritz Club charity trophy is still wide open, with no rider having scored more than once. The scorers so far at the 1983 festival: Mr. Colin Magnier, Tommy Carmody, Richard Lindley, Joe Byrne, Alan Brown, Tommy Dunn, and today two of the Dickinson riders, Graham Bradley and Robert Earnshaw. Out of a Falcon mare, Falcon, himself a sprinter, the sire of the great night nurse. A safe bet that Artifice, the old man there of the field, will have pleased his connections by his second spot in the Queen Mother Champion Chase as much as the winner will have delighted his.
On the distances were a distance and 6 lengths. A distance and 6 lengths.
And the official margin there, a distance and 6 lengths. So the judge estimated that Badsworth Boy defeated his field by 30 lengths or more.
We have the starting prices for the second race, the Queen Mother Champion Champion Chase. First number 2 has the prize at 2-1. Second number 1, Artifice at 9-1. Third number 8, News King at 5-1. Number 9, Rathgorman was the 15 to
And the tide having turned for Michael Dickinson following a very disappointing start. See him represented in the next, the Coral Golden Hurdle Final by Brunton Park, the likely favourite. Will give Graham Bradley the opportunity to go ahead in the Ritz Club Charity Trophy. Meanwhile, here now the starting prices on the Queen Mother Champion Chase.
First number 2, Badsworth Boy, 2-1. Second number 1, Artifice, 9-1. And third number 8, News King, 5-1. First Badsworth Boy, 2-1. The second Artifice, 9-1. And third News King, 5-1. 6 ran.
You must have been a bit depressed yesterday evening.
Yesterday evening I wasn't feeling too good at all. I was ready for home.
What happened to Branding on, do you think, in the Arkle?
It was really too bad to be true. You know, I think there's probably something wrong, or I hope there's something wrong, because, you know, it wasn't his form at all. It was sort of, he's much better than that.
Did he made 1 or 2 jumping errors early on?
He did, but I was never going well, you know, and when you're on the bridle it's easier to get jumping. So.
Well, now, what about this race? Did you think before the race that you were on the right one, or did you think it was Raffles again?
I knew it would be very close. I suppose you'd have to fancy Rathgorman a little bit. So I thought it'd be a lot closer than it was anyway.
Well, we weren't sure how just fast they were going early on, but a mile out, you obviously decided they weren't going nearly fast enough, because you really kicked down the far side.
Well, when he ran at Liverpool, I was racing to the last, and he fell with me. So I was thinking I didn't want to have to take it up racing in case I fell, you know. So I decided it was better to take it up when I was going easily, and then I could hunt a little bit down the hill, you know. So that was the idea of that, I suppose.
For 100 you may have done, but he nearly got you on the floor at the second last.
He did, yeah. We met it wrong, and it was either come up for a big one or pop, and he isn't too good at popping at all, so we had to come up for a big one, but he just dived a little bit.
Just got there.
Yeah, just.
And that was the worst moment, and obviously after that you could ease down a bit for the last.
I was further in front than I thought I was.
How does it feel being quite as far in front of that at Cheltenham? Because I don't think you've ever been that far in front before.
I've never been that far in front, no. It's nice.
Well, let's talk about tomorrow in Silverbuck. Michael Dixon's just a little bit pessimistic just now. Gave the impression he felt the horse wasn't quite the 100% that he was last year. How are your feelings about it?
Possibly wouldn't be quite the same as it was last year, but I'm hopeful.
Did he? Of course, you didn't ride him the other day in his prep race.
I didn't know Kevin rode him. So.
Was he pleased with him?
Kevin was pleased with him, yes.
Well, one more big ride today, and of course that's in the Sun Lions Chase on Right Hand Man. Are you hopeful there?
Yeah, hopeful. Hopeful.
Well, that's about as much as you get out of a man from Howard, anyway. Robert.